Good evening, or I think YouTube. Okay, don't know why I'm shooting. I guess because I wanted to express my distaste for the way, for starters, I worked at a doctor's office before. I'm not saying all of them are like this, but a lot of doctors, they think that they're better than, let's just say. For instance, the doctor I worked for, his time was so valuable. Bless his soul, he's awesome. I actually, he was one of the reasons why I stuck around for so long, because he was down to earth, but at the same time, he really did not like when people did not show for the appointment and didn't call to cancel. It was just no show, no call. To the point where, like, if they called after the fact and they tried to reschedule, he would he would say, he would tell me, "Oh, book them for next month," when we had plenty of openings before the fact. Also, some doctors, they won't accept the insurance because it doesn't pay them what they want to pay. And one thing that gets me upset is they still are listed, because a lot of doctors don't advertise. So their main source of advertisement will be insurance companies. But if you're gonna enroll yourself to become a provider for an insurance, and then after you get paid for the services you provide, and you see, oh, they barely pay me for, because doctors, especially private, I'm talking about private practice doctors, they have to pay their staff, they have to pay rent, they have to pay utilities. It all adds up. So by the end of the day, let's say they charge for a consultation, let's just say $300, and the insurance only pays 125, for instance. Some insurances are like that. They'll pay like a fraction, of what was covered. So like, I've seen it with my own eyes. Like a comprehensive eye exam, because I worked for an optometrist. The usual fee was $70, and some insurance companies pay like $20. What is that? Not even 1/3 of what the doctor would charge. So he would just say, don't book those patients anymore. But instead of doing the proper thing, which would be contacting that insurance company and say, look, I want to disenroll, he would stay enrolled, and that way his name, in this particular case, it was a he, whatever. He's probably retired by now, so it doesn't matter. That way he would still show when the people were looking for a provider near their area for an eye doctor. But then he would tell them, oh, we don't take that insurance anymore, but we do have a special deal, eye exam, and then try to sell them on, but that really upsets me, because that's just free advertisement for the business. But for the consumer, it's they're paying for that insurance, because even a lot of them were like supplements, whether it be a Medicaid supplement or a Medicare supplement. Those are the ones that usually pay the least, because they just pretty much handle the paperwork for the state or the government, and I don't know how it works. I have no idea. It's all the economics of medicine in this country is disgusting. That's why we don't have free healthcare, and that's why our healthcare is the most expensive in the whole, like, the whole world. Like, we're supposed to be one, according to a lot of patriots, we're the number one country, but yet we have people that, a good portion of our population is malnourished. Great portion of our population has no health insurance. They can't even see a doctor yearly if they want to get a regular checkup. Our infrastructure is made to enslave us, because if you don't have a car, and it's been proven, people that don't have a car are more than likely to stay in poverty through the rest of their lives. That's one of the things nowadays with modern infrastructure, because it's made to most cities, and especially developing worlds, they're following the United States footprints, and probably partly in part because American businesses are trying to get their, trying to make their profits from, going and making money out of in other countries, economics, free trade, global trade, and all that stuff. But it shouldn't be like that. I don't have a car. I was given a false hope. I was told, apply wherever you want. I'll transport you. Someone told me that, so I went crazy, and I started applying like it was a nightmare. And I got rejected a bunch of times, and then finally I got 3 uh, things where I could go and apply. But the problem now is that, round trip, we're talking 50 kilometers just for the interview. So then the person that told me that they would transport me, they said, oh, change your plans. Just do it, try to get something close by. But the problem is, unfortunately, I rent a couch. Well, not even rent, I kind of work for a couch in a house which is in an affluent neighborhood. And in an affluent place, they don't want to just hire anybody. They do background checks, and as soon as they see my background, forget about it. They don't even want to, they don't even consider me. That's most of the knowledge for places that were local. But moving along, the reason why I want to shoot this video is not just to complain about how we're enslaved to the society, because if we don't have a car, the public transport where I live, which is Broward County, is a county in the state of Florida. Florida is a state in the United States of America. United States of America is a country in the Americas. If you split it up, it's in North America, but the Americas is all one landmass. It used to be all connected, but then they said the United States intervened. They took Panama away from Colombia. And then after they did that, they constructed the Panama Canal so that when they wanted to ship from the West Coast to the East Coast, they wouldn't have to go down through the Strait of, no, not Magellan, I don't know, but it's a strait that is between like Argentina, Chile, the south tip of South America, and Antarctica. And from what I understand, over there the seas are very rough, and also the trip is just a lot longer. So they constructed the Panama Canal roughly around the 1910s, I believe. I want to say it was a while ago, and after about like 50 years, Panama got full ownership of it. But Panama used to be part of Colombia, and then Colombia, obviously we all know, used to be Gran Colombia. It used to be 4 different countries: Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Panama. And Simón Bolívar was the one who fought for the liberation from Spain, because before that they were property of Spain, and they were pretty much everything, they were just a country in the servitude of Spain. Nonetheless, kind of like how the United States fought for their freedom, and you could say George Washington was one of the generals that fought. And I don't know who they fought. I guess they fought I imagine the British were the ones where they were in the red. I don't know. But anyways, nonetheless, they came up with the Constitution, which I talked about in this channel, especially the 5th Amendment, because the other day there were law enforcement officers that were allegedly wanting to talk to me, but according to the words from another law enforcement officer who saw it but was not involved within that particular task, he was just, seeing I guess at that moment as a civilian. But all law enforcement officers, even if they're not wearing their uniform, I suggest you respect them as if they're still police officers, because it's a mindset. And not all police officers are bad, okay? I don't like to pretend like all of them are, but they do have tactics when they interrogate, because a lot of times they just want to get confessions, or they just want to gather evidence to try to close a case. And when they close cases, if they can gather evidence for like a district attorney to close, they rather see it close a lot sometimes. But that's why you have organizations like the one where, like, free the innocent or something, where as DNA technology advanced, they realized that some people were innocent, and then with time in jails, people have had doppelgangers that they were mistaken for, one of the things you can trust least in the court of law is eyewitness testimony. And then also one time when I got arrested, the police, they manhandled me so much and they actually fractured one of my ribs. Listen to how dirty this story was. An off-duty police officer, he hadn't clocked in yet, was following me on a Sunday morning, and his car was not marked, so it could have just been any regular car. And I made a left turn on this street which runs east and west. If you take it all the way east, it actually almost takes you to the beach. And I was taking it east. I was coming from this place called Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Back then they didn't have the guitar. It was just the hotel and then the casino. Now it's the Guitar Hotel, which a lot of people have been in, including the king of this country, Lionel Messi. So I was coming home one night. I made a left turn from Sheridan to go southbound on another road called Palm Avenue. This one runs north and south. When I made that left turn, I guess this other car, which was an unmarked car, decided to follow me. And my buddy who was sitting right next to me is like, David, chill out, there's a car behind us, it could be a police officer. And I looked, I didn't see any headlights. So I started toying with the car. I would speed up, I would slow down. I even came to a dead stop and I put my hand out the window and said like this to go around. And the car didn't want to stop. He was being a complete a-hole for some reason. He wanted to just mess with me before he went to work. So then finally, I made a right turn onto another street that runs east and west, which is called Johnson Street. It's named after one of our previous presidents. And on this street, he finally, after about a quarter mile riding on this street, he finally decided to turn on his lights, and he pulled me over. And the whole reason he was following me and didn't turn on the lights before was because he was waiting for backup, because he wasn't even in his own district or city or municipality, whatever you want to call it. This was an officer from the city that's south of where I was at that moment. And then when the other police officers came, they all, did their thing, whatever. They got to the point where they tasered me. And, I had been drinking that night. So I said, I don't feel anything, that doesn't do anything. And then they bumped it up. And then that's when I felt it. I said, okay, stop. And then, but by that point, they had pulled me, thrown me to the ground. They were up, you know how they did to that one black guy for 8 minutes and like 46 seconds that the police officer had his knee on his neck. No, it wasn't Trayvon Martin. Who was it? George Floyd, I think. The guy was literally saying, I can't breathe, and the police officer, and the guy he was guilty of was selling loose cigarettes on the street corner, which, he was not harassing anybody. He was not making any disruptions. He was unarmed. But the police officer, while the other ones were just looking, put all his weight on his knee against the guy's neck, and the guy couldn't breathe for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, I believe it was, or 43 seconds. And then, like, towards the end, after the guy was saying that he couldn't breathe, he started saying his mom's name. So in other words, the guy knew he was gonna die because he was gonna see his mom soon enough. And that's part of it partly is because of racism. The guy was black. A lot of black people in this country, unfortunately, they have it, and some of them get incarcerated. And I've seen some shows from like the 90s, like this Phil Donahue show when he interviewed Louis Farrakhan, and it was just ridiculous. He was talking about 1 in 4 black males are in jail right now. And I was just looking at it with disgust, and I was just like, yeah, but the law is written because to boost the economy. These jails are privately owned. For people who aren't aware, I've mentioned this already, the jails that are privately owned and are open in the state, like to serve as a prison, usually they sign contracts with the state, and they make it so that the state has to maintain a certain level of occupancy in that jail, usually like 90%, let's just say. And if the state does not deliver on maintaining convicts to that prison, or then the owner of the prison usually makes a contract with the state where if they don't maintain a certain level of incarcerated people in there, the state will then have to pay the prison, the owner of the prison, because remember, these prisons are privately owned. They'll have to pay the owner of the prison, it's almost like a fine for not completing their duty of putting enough people in jail. And that is the most disgusting thing that in the economy in this country that I could think of. Now, this is allegedly, this is what I hear. You always have to question everything you see and you hear, especially when you see it on a screen, and or and even history. Victors are the ones that write history. A lot of people in this country think that when the Allies beat the Axis powers in World War II, it was the Americans that killed Hitler. It was the Russians, but we're miseducated, and that's why a lot of people in it's true. I saw another short the other day about this guy who's British, and the only reason he's here is because he loves his wife, and he said it. He said it outright. A lot of Americans, you know, barely any of them have passports unless it's just to Canada and Mexico, which is just a little card, and you know, everybody, a lot of people in this country, freedom of press. Do we really have freedom of press? We're not as bad as North Korea per se, but we don't really have freedom of press. We're told what they want us to know about, for the most part. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we don't know about, that, and especially things that we're not taught in school, because school is mainly to make people, at least grade school, high school. If you specialize and you go to school, then you probably will learn something that you want to do. But if you're going to become a doctor, an MD, the guy I worked for, who was a OD, he told me, if you become an MD, take at least one business class, because a lot of things you learn after the fact. That's why when you become an MD, you have to do an internship, because that's when you really learn. And they don't want doctors coming out without having done an internship, because they didn't learn. They just learn from books. You have to actually you really learn this on the job. That's why when I saw this one YouTuber from Germany, and he told me he was one that they made a meme of, that he got mad at his keyboard and people misunderstood it and thought that he was really mad because he played video games, when in reality he was just like making he was trolling, he was making a joke. And he was saying that when he looked for jobs, he would say, are you guys looking to hire, or can I be an apprentice? And now I realize that I guess in other countries people work for free so they can learn the trade, and that's very valuable. That's how I was able to become a receptionist at a doctor's office, and eventually started learning how to do medical billing, which, from my personal experience, is the worst. It's the worst. Now they have new codes. The only thing that maybe got a little bit better is that a lot of it is done through computer now, so that's better. But especially when you deal with insurances that are funded federally or by the state, sometimes they'll refuse to pay. They'll make you wait till the next calendar year. That way, because a lot of it has to do with them trying to keep the budget at a certain level, and you have to, if you don't keep track, you lose money. And when you have a small business, every cent counts, because the small businesses don't really make as much money as people think. I mean, the only way they make money is if you do sales. Because glasses, for instance, a pair of Ray-Bans could go for let's say a couple $100, but if you buy it from Luxottica makes about half of all glasses brands. I'm sure you guys heard about those too. Luxottica will sell it to somebody who doesn't buy that many. The wholesale price will be like $30, maybe $40, and then you're selling it for $200. So you're making what, 4 times? You're making 400% profit. I think 500%. I don't know, something to that level. So if you do good with sales, that's the only way a business will do good. And there's a lot of other, or if your prices are high and you invested a lot in the business so that people come in and they want to spend money. Unfortunately, when I worked for this place, the person didn't have a lot of money to make it nice, but I guess that's why the people who now have a lease on the plaza, which is a company called Publix, which is like Kroger, they didn't renew the lease for the place I worked for. And the people that took over, it's just another optometrist office, but they redid it all nice, which is an incentive for people to spend money, because when they see things that are, when they're inside an area that kind of it's renovated and it's new, and you can see it makes you kind of want to either that or if you're just a good salesperson, which that was probably the only one of the things I like, that and like training people how to wear contacts or just talking to people. But everything that has to do with data entry and medical claims, oh my goodness, I wanted to kill myself. I think that's one of the reasons why I turned to opioids, because especially opioids derived from sabine, not from morphine, because they give you energy. But what I did want to talk about was the 13th of July of 2018 has been since I've been in the MAP program. And since then, which has been 5 years now and whatever, however many months, I counted the other day, but I stopped doing it because I try to take it day by day, just one day at a time. And I, like my aunt says, lo barato sale caro, which translates to whatever you get that's cheap turns out expensive at the end. And I kind of realized that because I started going to this pharmacy, which was referred to me by a buddy of mine who said that they have great prices for people who don't have insurance. And indeed they do. They actually have the best prices of all the pharmacies that I had ever been to. But I paid a price for it. The pharmacist ended up calling my doctor's office and saying this and that or something. And they even were bad mouthing another pharmacy that I went to, which the pharmacist, the owner hired, a second pharmacist there, and she happens to be my neighbor. So he was bad mouthing my neighbor's work. And at the same time, he was also like complaining and this and that. And I think because of that, my doctor's office now would not see me yesterday. And the only reason I wanted to be seen a week earlier than my appointment was because there's a pharmacy at the supermarket that I walked to, which you guys have seen. I made videos of it, and I finally got them. I got it approved that they can fill the narcotic that I take, which is it's a partial agonist. It's not a full agonist opioid, so it's excellent. It helps with pain, way better than a Tylenol, or way better than anything over the counter. And because it's a partial agonist, there's no, like, you don't want to abuse it, because if you do one pill and you do it sublingually, you just put it under your tongue and let it dissolve. Whether you do one or two, the effects are, it doesn't make a difference. Sometimes you can even take a half and it'll work just as good. But no, one is usually, it'll work, and it lasts at least 8 hours. So that one, that's helped me out tremendously. But the doctor did not want to see me yesterday, and the only reason I wanted to be seen was because I don't want to go back to that other pharmacy. Even though it's cheaper, I'll probably save $15, let's say, which is about 10 pounds, I believe, or maybe like 12 euros. But the thing is that pharmacy is about like round trip 15-20 kilometers from where I live. So it's not worth it. I have to get transportation, and I'd rather just pay an extra 10 pounds and go right here, which is round trip on foot. It's like 20 minutes, if I walk at a good pace, like at a power walking pace, it's 20 minutes. And I'd rather pay an extra 10 pounds and just get my medication here. And here, they don't complain. The staff is very, very kind. The pharmacist, he doesn't, I've never heard them, call my doctor's office to say this, and that. No, and you're allowed to, it's not illegal, it's completely legal. You're allowed to fill what they consider controlled substance. Those are just substances that have a high level of abuse. It doesn't necessarily mean they all drugs fall in different categories. It doesn't mean that it's one which is completely legal, no medical use. Two are usually like opioids or stimulants that have high levels of abuse. And the two medications that I take that are controlled substances are level 3 and level 4. One is for pain and helps with depression, and helps so that I don't use the other opioids, that I used to abuse before I got into the MAP program. And the other one is for anxiety and for panic attacks, which if it wasn't for that, thank goodness, because going to the hospital, because the problem with a panic attack you don't want to take it as, you don't, if you're really having a heart attack and you say, oh, it's just a panic attack, and then you do end up having a heart attack, you know, it could be the end of you. So, unfortunately, once I have run out of that medicine beforehand, because it only gets prescribed every 8 hours when it only works every 6 hours. After 6 hours, you're supposed to take it again, according to one thing I read. But I gotta go into the library and do more research, because this was a book published in Canada. I don't really like to search things on the internet, because, and also another doctor that I went to before the doctor I go to now, he told me that after 4 or 5 hours you don't feel it. And the way he was mentioning it, he was mentioning like he took it himself. So, but if I feel like I'm having a panic attack, you can rest assured I'm not gonna wait. Oh, I still got 4 more hours to wait. No, I'm gonna take one. And if it doesn't work, and I'm still being, the stimuli in my environment is still causing me to like, like, it's just, I don't like discussing it, because just talking about it makes me like, it almost like, I have to like calm down and relax. But if like the stimuli that caused it is still there, it hasn't subsided, or I haven't been able to try to block myself and put myself in a different place, I'll take another one until the point where, the medication maybe has caused me to like become a little bit like, like tired or whatever. But I'd rather be a little tired than, think that I'm about to fall to the floor. And, heaven knows haven't had one yet. But when I do, I'll let you guys know. All right, that's what I wanted to complain about. I don't want to go back to that pharmacy. I'm not going to say the name, but it is the cheapest one. But like I said, round trip, it's approximately like, 15-20 kilometers. And the amount I'd be saving is, even if it's $20, so like, what, like 15 pounds the most, I'd rather go here where I could walk. The staff is pleasant, and they allow me to fill 2 days early. And the reason why filling 2 days early is urgent, for two reasons. One, because since I suffer from anxiety, I'd rather know that I'm getting to have my medicine, and it's not going to be on back order, and they're working on it, and I'd rather get it early than late. I used to be patient and wait, until one time they made me wait like to the point where I ran out, and then at the last minute they said, you know what, just take it somewhere else. And I had to go. I tried to go to my old pharmacy, which was still affordable, but the guy closed his business, and then he gave all his patients to the one where my neighbor works at now, which is very expensive. I'll only go there if I have no choice. And that one's about 5 kilometers away, so 10 kilometers round trip. Whereas the other one is about like how many kilometers? I say is about 30 kilometers round trip. The other one, the one that's really cheap. But the pharmacist there, he called my office, and I think because of that they didn't want to see me early, and I just wanted to be seen early, because the pharmacy that's close to me, that's 20 minutes round trip on foot, they have to special order the one medication they've never filled. They finally got the okay from the regional pharmacist, the one that's in charge of a certain area. It's not divided by counties, it's divided by area, because I know north of Sterling Road, which is still in this county, is a different district pharmacist or whatever, regional, pharmacy, whatever. And they finally got it approved. So I just wanted to get that prescription early, so that, and also the doctor's office has nothing to do with how the pharmacist dispenses this. So whether they see you early or they see you later, they don't get in trouble for it. So I don't know why they felt uncomfortable with it. And also, I wanted to change my date for other reasons too, because since the year 2000, my medication has been stolen like on 3 different occasions. Granted, one time it was just one of them, and it was my fault. I left it, like, I didn't hide it, but that's another reason why filling 2 days early is essential, because anything you have left over, you can put it away somewhere else, and heaven forbid, if it ever gets stolen again, you have a little bit of backup, till you can see the doctor, which unfortunately where I go to, it's only the appointments are very, very, very limited, and that dictates when I can make the appointments and whatnot. But I was referred there, and because of the amount of medication that I get, I don't want to just go see any doctor, because a lot of doctors, they feel uncomfortable writing so much medication, but it's truly pointless because it's helped me. Even for instance, my queen was talking about getting renting a cheap house, and I asked her, I just told her, I'm like, what's the zip code? That's all I want to know. Because if she wants to move anywhere that's near an area where there, you can easily obtain illegal drugs, and it's a bad neighborhood where, like, if you just cross one street, you see people on the corner. I don't even want to be near that environment, because the regimen that I have has worked at least well enough for me that I wouldn't even think about touching any. I just feel like it would be disgusting. It's not worth it. This country, and even to people who are not, who use recreationally and are not addicts, stay away from the drugs in this country unless you know a celebrity, or unless you're like a Wall Street guy and you know someone who has stuff that's clean. Because a lot of the stuff on the street, it's garbage. Or if you have a tester, and you can test the substances yourself, you're going to pay for something you think is something. Quality may be different from one day to the next. Nowadays, 70 to 90% of the time laced with fentanyl, because that this country's drug laws they're really made to incarcerate people and to kill people. Everything's usually against the poor, or people that don't really want to contribute to society, or want to be like a menace, but mostly just poor, or are not, or ethnically different. Even though this country was originally, the natives were the first one here. All right, thank you for watching. Love you guys. Ciao.